obviously.
Well, drive-through food.
Yeah, drive-through. Yeah, I know.
Like,
so,
there's no drive-through McDonald's.
A lot of Americans hug each other.
Yeah.
Like in France, you don't like you do.
Well, you do the kiss. Yeah.
You like.
Hey guys, it's Caroline. Welcome back to my channel, and today I'm with Kyla.
Hi.
So Kyla is from Nebraska. We're both Nebraska natives, but she lives in Paris. And I live in Italy, and so we connected online, and this is our first time hanging out in person. We were both in Nebraska for the holidays, so we decided to film some videos together. We already filmed a couple others, so you can check those out on KYLA'S channel, which I'll link below.
Right.
And then I have another one we filmed, so I'll link that below too. And this one, we're gonna be talking about reverse culture shock, since we're both in the US right now. Obviously, moving to Europe, we had culture shock there. So after 3 years in France, and then I've been in Italy for 7, coming back to the US, we obviously notice things that are different about the way people do life here, the way life is here.
Right.
So I thought it'd be fun to talk about that.
Yeah,
today.
for sure.
Do you want to start?
Yeah, okay, so this one's like super random, but this is what I first noticed when my parents picked me up from the airport, because they picked me up and we were going into the parking garage to put my suitcases in the car and go home. And the first thing that I immediately said is, oh my God, the cars are so huge. Because in the Midwest especially, I feel like everyone drives a truck or a big SUV, and it's just like way different than in the tiny streets of Paris where everyone drives a very small car. And like the parking spaces are bigger and the roads are bigger, like everything related to cars is just bigger. And I was like so surprised right away when I got back to the US because of that reason.
That's hilarious. Yeah. Okay, so one of the first things I noticed when I got back this time actually is I was in New York visiting my brother, and we went out for dinner, and his friend ordered a cocktail with his dinner. In Italy, we order wine or beer or water or whatever. Anything besides a cocktail is okay with dinner. Like, cocktails are for before or after dinner, but having a cocktail with your meal, it's just something you'll never see in Italy. And then on top of that, if you have a drink, you usually pair it with whatever you're eating. So if you're having red wine, you would be eating meat, and if you're having white wine, you would be having seafood. They're very specific with like the particular foods that are paired with certain alcohol. If you have a burger, you'd have a beer with it. So yeah, they're very specific in their food and drink pairings. And so I just remember thinking, oh my gosh, why is he having a cocktail with his pasta? Like, that's just so not what we do in Italy. And I never thought about it until I came back here.
Yeah, it's the same in France too. Like, they're very specific on their pairings as well. Okay, for me, my second weird culture shock that I had coming back, or reverse culture shock I had coming back, was just like how big the grocery stores were. Like, maybe it's because I live in Paris especially. Like,
I feel like I'm so scooched away. Okay,
maybe it's because I live in like Paris especially, but like the grocery stores are much smaller. There's like no room in the aisles. They're like very small, and so it was just so weird to come back here and have like Costco and huge grocery stores that you just like wouldn't see like as the norm in France. And then also like the groceries themselves are very big. Like, you buy like a liter or gallon or whatever of like milk, whereas like in France you would really buy like 1/2 the size or a third of the size. Like, you buy way bigger quantities in the US than you would in France. And part of that is probably because we have to carry our groceries home, but at the same time, like, I think it's just America has a very like Costco culture, like, which is like you buy everything in bulk, like you store up on everything, you buy everything in bulk, and then you do your grocery shopping like once a week or once every 2 weeks even. Whereas in France and Italy, like, the culture is way more like you need to buy your food fresh like once every few days. Like, especially at the boulangerie, like where you buy your baguette, like you would never buy that a week ahead of when you would eat it. You buy it daily and like things like that. And so
same in Italy.
It's very different here, for sure.
So true. Okay, so my next culture shock coming back to America from Italy was how early we have dinner here. Because in Italy we eat around 8 or 8:30 at night, but in America,
France,
between like 5 and 6:30ish we'll have dinner in America. like as early as 5, which is just unheard of in Italy. Like if
that's
you're
a
doing
snack or lunch even.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So I was just, took some time to adjust to that earlier dinner time. And then on top of that, you go to bed earlier usually in the US. I mean, unless it's a weekend and you're going out. But like in Italy, I'll go to bed around midnight or later because we're out usually until midnight at least if we have dinner at 8:30.
Right.
And then instead here, my bedtime's like, sometimes I'm in bed at like 9.
Yeah.
If I have dinner at 5, it's like, what else is there to do?
Same,
so.
yeah. For me, one of the biggest reverse culture shocks that I had coming back was just the convenience of everything in the US. Like I was kind of goes with my last point of how big the groceries were, like how much you can stock up on at once. But really the biggest difference is like just the convenience of like driving from one point to another, like one place to another. Because in Paris, like I take the metro and I walk everywhere, and like yeah, I really enjoy doing that. But like here in Nebraska especially, like I drive in my car from like the house to the grocery store, back to the house without having to carry my groceries very far at one time, or like I don't have to switch metros or anything. I just like drive from one place to another, and I feel like that's just like so convenient compared to like what I have in France. And I love walking and everything. It's just very different vibe for sure.
So my next reverse culture shock I had when I came here was how friendly everyone is, which is something we talked about in KYLA'S video. But everyone is so friendly in the Midwest especially, but in America in general, they're a lot more open, and they'll say hi to you. Your cashier will talk to you when you're checking out at the grocery store. They'll have conversation with you. If you're, you know, in a park walking around and see somebody, you say hi. Whereas in Italy, it's really strange to say hi to someone you don't know. And I actually prefer the American way of being, you know, friendly to everybody, whether you know them or not. But I felt sort of shocked the first time I was like in a park walking around and someone said hi to me and I didn't know them. I was just like, oh, hi. I forgot people do that here. So it's cool. I love it. And I love that that's part of our culture. But yeah, it was kind of a shock to me when I came back.
No, I wrote down the exact same thing, like small talk, which again, we talked about in my video, but like small talk for me is such a foreign concept coming back to the US, because in France, like no one small talks at all. Like you don't talk about the weather with a stranger. You don't talk about like how your day was with a random worker somewhere. Like you just don't. So like small talk was a huge culture shock for me coming back, reverse culture shock for me coming back, because like I actually didn't know how to communicate. Like I felt like I was being so awkward when I was like going through the Trader Joe's checkout line or whatever. Like I actually felt like I was being so awkward, because my cashier would be like, oh, how's your day? Like, did you find everything you needed? And I felt like I was giving like really short answers compared to like a typical Midwesterner who would like go on and on. And so I felt like I was being kind of rude. And like, I just, it was very much reverse culture shock. For sure. For sure.
Okay, so my next one is coffee shop culture. So
we don't have that in France either.
So like in Italy, if you have a coffee, you can stand at the bar at the counter and drink your coffee there, and you don't pay extra. But if you want to sit down at the bar in Italy or the coffee shop, you have to pay an extra fee. And in America instead, the price is the same no matter what, if you sit down or stand up. But standing up and drinking your coffee isn't really a thing in America. I think that's more Italian for sure, more European. And so like having your little espresso shot in Italy and just taking it and going. So yeah, it's just different.
Right. Well, and I just feel like in the United States, there's like a coffee shop culture of grabbing a coffee and then like studying or doing work at a coffee shop. Whereas like in Paris, that does exist, yes, but it's not like normal really. Whereas in the US, it's like totally normal to like meet a friend for coffee, or like study while doing or while drinking coffee, or like
even getting to go coffee. Like to go coffee is not a thing in Italy.
Here there's like literally drive-throughs where you can get coffee, and like the Starbucks drive-through or the whatever, there's coffee drive-throughs, and that is not a thing at all in France, obviously.
Well, drive-through food,
drive-through, I know,
like there's no drive-through McDonald's or anything.
So that's a lot different for sure. For sure.
That's crazy.
And my final reverse culture shock was the fact that they put ice in drinks again. Like I always miss that when I'm in France because I love like an unsweetened iced tea, which you just cannot find in France anywhere. And I love like just having ice in my water. Coming back and like having ice in my drinks was like such a pleasant surprise. So that was like a pleasant reverse culture shock, I would say.
Yeah, that's true. Like in Italy it's the same. You have to ask for ice if you want, and a lot of times they won't even have it when you ask for it. So
yeah, and like iced coffee in France is really hard to find.
Well, and it's not a thing.
It's not, no, it's like they look at you weird if you get an iced coffee, and especially if like you want an iced coffee in winter, which like many Americans do. Yeah, like they just don't, they stop serving iced lattes like in September in Paris. Yeah, so very different in that regard as well.
Okay, my last culture shock coming back to America from Italy was personal space. So in Italy, when you talk to someone, you stand really close together and you're touching each other. Overall, they're just a lot closer in distance when they have conversation with you. Whether you know the person or not, they get very close to you. Whereas in America, we have like
lots
a few
of
feet
distance.
at least. Yeah. If it's a stranger, even more. And I wouldn't say there's one I prefer over the other, but it just feels different.
Especially in the Midwest where we have like ample space. I really feel like personal space is like a very high priority for a lot of people. Whereas in France, like in Paris especially, we don't have that luxury because of the metro and everything. Like we have to be like close together, and like the streets are often crowded, so like personal space just like isn't as much of a thing in general. Yeah, one time I was in a culture class at my university in Florence, and the teacher was talking to us about personal space and how different it is for Americans versus Italians. And he was like, you know, there were a couple Italian students in the class and a couple Americans, and he said, okay, I want one American to come stand a distance to me that they feel comfortable, and then I'll have the Italian come and stand a distance they feel comfortable. And the Italian was like right next to the professor, whereas the American was like 3 or 4 feet from him. And he was like, and you know, see, this is like the difference between Italians and Americans. And that was kind of the first time I really thought about it, but it is so true. Much different,
And I would get uncomfortable with how close Italians were to me when I first moved to Italy. I was like, this is so weird, why are they standing so close? And I'd keep backing up and they'd keep moving forward. But now I've just learned to embrace that part of life in Italy. So, is that our last point?
Yeah, I have one bonus one, which is I feel like a lot of Americans hug each other. Like in France, you don't, like you do the kiss. You like kiss each other on the cheeks. So it's like hugging really isn't like part of the culture in France, whereas like here you hug friends, family, like anyone you're like remotely close to, you hug, or like remotely know you hug.
So
and
true.
So that's which is kind of funny because it's like not personal space, but at the same time, like hugging, I don't know, hugging is very much part of the Midwest culture, and that was kind of a shock to me, getting hugged by everybody. I do love that actually about I do love hugs, so I do think that's good about the American culture, but definitely was not typical French at all. But if you like tried to do the kiss no, people would think that's like, they would think that was weird. Like so close, and but then like hugging for some reason doesn't feel too close. Exactly. So, I never thought about that. All right, well that is everything. I hope you guys enjoyed this video on reverse culture shock. Let us know if any of you have experienced reverse culture shock in the comments below. Make sure to check out KYLA'S videos on her channel that we did. If you liked this video, give it a thumbs up and subscribe for more videos like this. I'll definitely be doing more videos with KYLA in the future. And thank you so much, KYLA, for coming on my channel. Thank you so much.
And I'll see you guys next time. Ciao for now.
Bye.